Light, Mine, Flash, J-Doll, Easy Play, Anytime, Stop, Nada, Much, Slayer's Boxer, C, Bisu, Savior, 16 of the most powerful StarCraft gamers in the world, LG, Intel Centrino, Phone TV, Star Invitational.
Welcome back to the GOM TV StarCraft Invitational. This is Nick Tase's plot. It turned out to be a very exciting group. Everybody's tied right now. 2 more games are left to be played. Stork is 1-1, Hwasin's 1-1, Berserker's 1-1, and Freeze 1-1. So, it's going to be up to these last 2 games. The next game coming up is Stork versus Hwasin, Protoss versus Terra on BaekmaGoji. And Game 6 will be Berserker, also known as Iris, versus Free on BaekmaGoji. So the winner of this game will be getting out of the group, and then the winner of the next game will be getting out of the group. So it's do or die. No player's got an easy out right now. And they all know that. The pressure's on. The clock is ticking. Who's going to make it out of the group? This is an incredibly important tournament. Not just because I'm casting in it, but because it is an English coverage tournament for one of the most important events in the world, the StarCraft GOM TV Invitational. I'm really excited to see how this game's going to turn out. BaekmaGoji, Terran versus Protoss, Hwasin versus Stork. Hwasin, very strong mechanical player, ranked 6th in the KESPA ratings. Stork, ranked 2 in the KESPA ratings, and also the winner of the World Cyber Games World Finals. Here we see, I'm looking at the stats right now, excuse me. Hwasin versus Stork. Actually, this is their first official match ever. That's interesting. So these players have never actually engaged each other when it really, really mattered. Today, their record's going to start. Hwasin is known mostly for his Terran versus Zerg. His Terran versus Protoss is actually his weakest matchup. Pulling his stats up now, I see that he has a 44.1% win ratio against Protoss with a record of 15-19. So he's one of the few pro gamers that does not actually have a 50 percentile plus a 50 percentile or higher win ratio. So this is going to be tough for him. Stork is known for being very good against Terran. I'm trying to grab his stats right now. I don't know if they gave them to me. They have to be somewhere. Okay, here they are. He is 43-21 with a 67.18% win ratio. So Stork is probably the favorite here. Okay, welcome back. Stork versus Hwasin. The map is BaekmaGoji. There's Stork. The brown Protoss at the bottom left. At the top right is Hwasin, the blue Terran. Whoever wins this advances. Whoever loses this is eliminated. There's a lot of pressure on these players. From their fans, from their coaches. I see, I've been told that on the forums people are asking why why Korean girls always hide their faces when the camera goes on them. Somebody on the forums thinks that in Korea the cameras actually emit a gamma death ray, and that's why the girls shy away from them because they want to live. I actually... From what I understand, a lot of these people have actually skipped school to come down here, and they don't want their parents or their teachers to see them on TV. So that's probably one of the reasons why. But, it could be the gamma death ray, who knows. Oh, quick hide. All right, Mom's watching. Okay. So far at this point in time, Hwasin is not walled in yet. That means his SCVs are going to get back to his mineral patches a little bit quicker. To an average noob, that wouldn't seem like anything. But if you're a Gosu, you know how important it is to get those workers back to the mineral patches as soon as possible. Typical build so far for both players. Neither is scouted. So we clearly know that nothing too creative was going to be coming out of Stork's build yet. Note the positioning of the barracks and the supply depot. It makes somewhat of a mini wall, so that if in fact his opponent is proxy gatewaying or something of that sort, he'll at least have a position where he can kind of, Marines can take cover behind some buildings. This is one of those maps that's, it's probably the most bizarre map in the tournament. Oh wait, building a pylon out there. I assume he's building the pylon there because if Hwasin scouts, Hwasin knows the general Terran build against Protoss, as he knows the Protoss versus Terran build. So what that means is that if he scouts his opponent and sees a missing pylon, it can be very confusing. Pro-Terran players are trained to spot a missing pylon and assume that there's a proxy barracks, or maybe he's hiding a robo bay or hiding a citadel, and then play in a very defensive way. However, the exact opposite is actually happening. It's actually just a feint. I saw Na Ra, also known as Kong Min, or I should say Kong Min, also known as Na Ra, do a similar technique at BlizzCon, and it really managed to confuse Iris, also known as the Berserker. Dragoon range being upgraded. I have seen some very good Protoss players that occasionally upgrade air weapons early on, so that when the Terran scouts them, they get confused and think they're actually getting Dragoon range. And then when they kill the SCV, they actually cancel it. The only reason why they would actually end up doing that with the air weapons upgrade anyways is just because it's a little bit cheaper, so you don't lose as much money when you cancel it. Now, Hwasin didn't really get a full scout of his opponent's base, so he might have actually not even assumed that that missing pylon, he might have not even noticed that there was a pylon missing. He could have assumed it was in the back behind the mineral patches. Second gateway thrown down. A lot of Protoss players wait until they actually kill off the SCV before they even make the second gateway, Robo Bay, Citadel, anything, just because they don't want to give Terran the slightest hint as to what they're doing. Three gateways. I thought it was going to be a Robo Bay. That would have been more standard. Now, interestingly, let me just put it like this. This is a very aggressive build. I also see that Hwasin's put another pylon up there. Now I'm starting to become more suspicious that the locations of these pylons are also to spot a dropship, which might be, let's say Hwasin happened to get an early starport. Because he's not getting the Robo Bay, he's going to at least be able to spot a dropship if it's coming in from the north with those pylons. There's so many different unique things you can do with each of the buildings in a game like StarCraft. Stork attempting to do a little bit of harassment. Command center being produced. It looks like Hwasin's going to try to expand pretty fast. That could be very dangerous on this map. This map does not encourage fast expoing like he is there. And we assume that he's going to expo to that region that's probably the more dangerous one because of the location of the command center. This could work very well for Stork. Also note, or actually I'll just wait until they go to that location and talk about it. Starport now. Okay, because he got the second gas, he's able to get a Stargate out there earlier on. This means that he can mass up a bunch of Dragoons, play defensively. Hello, camera. and he can keep on getting. Excuse me, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, he has all these minerals and these two gas geysers at his expansion, so he can use that to get these Stargates out and get carriers. He's got 3 gateways out already, so he can use that to get the Dragoons to cover for himself until he gets the carriers. I thought he might be getting a little bit offensive early on, and I'm talking about Stork here, but it's not going to be the case. He's getting an early armory rather than an early academy, which means he's not going to be scanning these carriers either. Got some more stuff on the forums. Shout out to Clan Super Mega Go Force. I hope all 12 of you are enjoying this. Here's someone else is saying here that I'm a little saddened by the lack of Zerg players. There's 8 Terrans and 5 Protosses and only 3 Zerg. Really makes a Zerg sad. And he wants to know if I have any idea why this is. I can ask the producers. I know that they are the ones that picked the players, but it had a lot to do with Kespa ratings. I'm not sure, but that would be my assumption. I mean, granted, it is very difficult to pick out all these players. It would be interesting to see a little bit more of a race balance. We don't even have a Zerg player in this group. Here comes Zealot. Suddenly, Stork realizes that his opponent has expanded. He's going to see if he can rush up here, apply some pressure. Hwasin carefully has half of his army sieged, half of his army unsieged. Note on the mini-map that Stork has actually walled off the bridge with pylons to cut off bike circulation, vulture bike circulation. All right, weapons upgrade and a robotics bay. An incredibly late robotics bay, but he had to make that sacrifice because the carriers cost so much Vespian gas. Hwasin has not yet scanned the carriers. That's bad news for him because those carriers are going to be a big shock. Although he's already gotten a few Goliaths. Sieging up right out of the range of the Dragoons. Stork will have to pull back here. He does not have the necessary forces to deal with that. And he is pulled out. Now, if Hwasin can get this push on and get in there fast, he can do a lot of damage. The carriers are only useful until you get, I would say at least 2, but they would have to have 8 interceptors in them. And it takes a long time to build the carriers and a long time to get the interceptors. Oh, man. Now, Hwasin's closing in on Stork very fast. Stork might not be able to get out of his group right now if he loses this. Moving in now. Stork doing everything he possibly can to force Hwasin to siege as many times as possible, forcing Terran to go into a static mode rather than a mobile one. But he may get pushed into a corner. Here come the carriers now. 2 carriers, but only 2 interceptors inside the carriers, trying to pick off the tanks. But Hwasin may have so many Goliaths, he may be able to just wipe out the interceptors as they come. Well, he had more Goliaths. I guess he lost the other ones, or they're not with the group. Now it's going to be a question of, can Stork use these carriers to keep Terran back for long enough? But Terran already X-mode. The build, which just so happened to be very, very strong against the build that Stork is doing. So here we go. More interceptors attacking. He's got 6. He's now 7, almost 8. And it looks like Hwasin has not yet upgraded the missiles. But he's flying his carriers over the Goliaths. Do you like your carrier, Stork? You cannot do that. And he might be able to save it. No, 22 health. And it's still going to go down 13 health. Oh, taking out that carrier. You cannot afford to do that. Especially not with carriers. They take so long to build. It'll just give Terran that much more of an advantage in gaining some more Goliaths. I wouldn't be surprised if Hwasin has already made a second armory, actually. More carriers moving out. Now he's going to bring his ground army in because when you get carriers, it forces a Terran to make Goliaths over vulture bikes. And when that happens, the Terran ground army is weaker against the Protoss ground army. So the carriers, in combination with the Protoss ground forces of Dragoons and Zealots, can be very, very strong. Now look how he very carefully, Stork I'm referring to, uses the carriers to pull them away from the Goliaths, pull them over these ledges where they can't quite reach them. Using that high ground advantage where his Dragoons are carefully positioned. It's a game of micro right now. All right, more carriers continue to attack these Goliaths, and it looks like Hwasin's decided that he's going to have to throw up some towers, some turrets, excuse me, if he wants to hold off this ongoing assault. But Hwasin has already got an extra expansion, and Stork does not. Hwasin is in the lead. Stork has to expand, and the expansion has become so late. Although the very positioning, or the structure of this map, the architecture of it, allows for excellent carrier harassment. He can pick off the Goliaths as they come out. He's got to be very careful, though, because as the Goliaths keep coming, he's going to be more and more behind. I believe there's 4 carriers. Yes, 4 carriers in that group. And the Goliaths are not quite dying as quickly as I think Stork would have liked. He is slowly starting to pick them off, though. Looks like he's going to bring his ground army around and try to move into the area where the siege tanks are not actually covering. Picking off the siege tanks, the Dragoons and the Zealots, very strong against Goliaths. Mines planting, Dragoons dying. Now, because of this lich, he can keep picking off the tanks. And once he picks up the tanks, he will rush in here with the Dragoons and the Zealots. One more tank to take out, and the attack will commence. Here it comes now. Meanwhile, Stork using this opportunity to buy some time at least. He's going to move in and pick off that last tank. And if he can actually penetrate his main, Stork may end up winning this game. Now Hwasin suddenly realizes he put too many defenses over there and not enough in his main. Moving the Dragoons out of the range of the tanks, using the Dragoons to pick off the Goliaths. He's making it incredibly difficult for Hwasin. Hwasin has an Expo at the bottom right, but he hasn't even begun to really use it because he's been so distracted. Stork's Expo finally going up. You rarely see Pro players who are this far behind somehow come back and win. Now, it looks like at this point, oh man, he's using the SCVs. That's a sign of desperate speed. Meanwhile, he comes in on the other side with Dragoons to pick out these 4 turrets. Very impressive. I don't think Hwasin can win now. I think Stork actually outmaneuvered him. He basically tricked him with excellent army placement and then excellent maneuvering. Taking out the armory now. He won't be able to produce Goliaths. The carriers will now be an unstoppable force. It's going to be GG. Hwasin has completely thrown this game. This is bad. Bad news for Hwasin. Good game. Stork wins. Hwasin does not look too happy about that loss. I don't blame him, though. He had that early advantage with the Expo, but did not defend adequately and did not push correctly. Stay tuned. We got the last game coming up here at the GOM TV Star Invitational.